It's happened to me a few times, but the other night was the first time in a while I heard this noise in my room. Like this, it sounded like breathing, like someone else breathing. I'm like, oh my god! My first conclusion is it's a ghost. Actually, my first conclusion is like water is leaking somewhere. I'm looking around. I'm like, what? I'm alone in the room, and where it's coming from is not leading to another room where there are other people. I'm like, what the hell is that, man? Like something is breathing. I'm like, okay. And then I held my own breath, and it stopped. And then I realized, like deep in my throat, there was like a whine or like some kind of like air thing going on, like in my own throat, a little bit behind my own breath.
So you had a ghost living inside you all along.
Exactly. I needed exorcism on my esophagus.
Hello and welcome to the QUACKCAST. This is the Drunkduck QUACKCAST, and we're up to number 508. I'm Ozone Ocean, and with me is Tanzarine and Bane.
Hello.
Hello.
Baines McBain. That's his name now, people. Got to remember that. So this is an interesting QUACKCAST because we're going to talk about fan service. This is a subject that is I don't think we've ever talked about this before, and it's the idea of you're doing something in your work that is designed deliberately to appeal to fans. Whereas it could be like the simple, basic idea of fan service how it used to be. So like when I first heard about it, it was in the end of Neon Genesis Evangelion. So you'd watch that and then they'd have the end and the characters would talk about what was going to happen next week, and they'd say, oh, and don't forget, we've got more fan service. And that was very confusing to me because I had no idea what they meant by that, but they just meant characters showing their underpants basically, or falling down and touching each other's boobs or something like that. So that's an idea of fan service, but I think, it's since mutated into something else. But anyway, we're going to talk about that. But first, I have to bring up the feature. QUACKCAST has given us a little feature this week, and it was Heaven Hunters. Quai, please, enlighten us as to why you featured Heaven Hunters.
Hello, this is QUACKCAST, and the feature I've selected for this week is Heaven Hunters by Ted Graves Art, and it is rated M for mature. Savina and Ori are two demons who have lived a hedonistic lifestyle. They drink, lust, envy, and curse without remorse. Joining them in their daily grind is an underground society of Heaven Hunters, sworn to take out a list of angelic beings who have been battling their kind since ancient times. The latest name on their list is a zealot-class angel, Eliezer, who may have originally helped pen the Book of Revelations. No living man should trifle with a Heaven Hunter. The art is hands down a professional example of comic mastery. The backgrounds are drawn with a high level of attention to detail and in perspective. The inking, digital coloring, and text bubbles all represent the high standard of the golden age of printed comics. Try to identify which characters are Heaven Hunters or cosplayers, and read Heaven Hunters by Ted Graves Art, rated M.
And that was our featured comic. QUACKCAST, thank you for talking about Heaven Hunters. This is a very new comic on Drunkduck. Very funny that this new comic just burst into the scene. Have either of you seen Heaven Hunters before?
I've looked at it a little bit. Very clever twist. The
Very
Heaven Hunters idea.
pretty artwork. Well, guess what? We have a featured music this week. And Gummalus has given us the theme to Heaven Hunters.
Oh, nice.
Everything's coming up Heaven Hunters. There's no collaboration between these two. Quai has no idea what music Gummalus has come out with, and Gummalus had no idea what featured comic was, I think. And yeah, they just both came up with it, which is interesting. So, Heaven Hunters. Holy...
It's a miracle.
Yes, it's a miracle, exactly. Holy reverence in the sepulchre. Voices soaring to the heavens, followed by a thunderblast of satanic guitar, fire burning hot with blue and orange flame, running free in a cleansing chaos of rock. So take it away, Gumulus, with Heaven Hunters. That was our featured music. Gumulus, thank you very much for that. It is Heaven Hunters, very nice piece of music, which is a comic by Ted Graves Art. So yes, very nice comic. So, fan service. When did you guys first come to learn about fan service?
I remember it was the 90s, and I was watching Neon Evangelion Genesis.
Speaking of fan service, one area where I first thought, oh, this isn't like, this is something for the fans, was, obviously people have always done fan service, but we haven't called it that. But one time when I was really aware of it is, if you guys remember Hercules, Legendary Journeys. No, not Hercules. The other one, Xena Warrior Princess, right? So that was a hugely popular show. It was spun off from Hercules. And you had this great relationship between Xena and whoever that female character was that Xena was with.
The blonde one.
Gabrielle.
Gabrielle, yes.
Yeah. So yeah, they had this the only reason there was a duo between Xena and Gabrielle is because it was a direct female copy of Hercules and Aeolus, or whatever that character's name was, in because they, for some reason, Hercules needed a bloody sidekick, so they did the same thing in Xena. So yeah, she had to have this weird little sidekick to pull out of trouble and everything like that. But after a while, Xena became a sort of a lesbian kind of icon. She wasn't lesbian at all in the show, but it just, had that vibe about her. And Lucy Lawless wasn't lesbian or anything like that, the actor. But people projected that onto the character. And so the writers of the show spotted a trick and thought, "Oh, this is like getting a certain kind of audience. People like this idea of the shipping between Xena and Gabrielle." So they actually played up to that and sort of transitioned their platonic friend relationship and turned it into a kind of a lesbian kind of love, and that was pure fan service. That was done because the writers saw that idea was a popular thing and did it. So yeah, that was a something that I noticed, people doing on a TV show just because of the fans. Like, the writers hadn't come up with it, that the characters weren't originally intended to be that way. They did it. And I think they did the same kind of thing in Buffy the Vampire Slayer. That was something that was very much sort of... And now, who did Buffy? The director of the Buffy thing. Isn't that one of these guys who's doing, like, the Star Wars movies? J.J. Abrams or someone like that? Or
was that Joss Whedon?
Joss Whedon, yeah. So Joss Whedon's another kind of guy who does fan service stuff. Like, he's someone who, is very much aware of his audience and will do stuff deliberately to please them once he finds out what that is. He did, what was that? Firefly. Isn't that him?
Mm-hmm.
Firefly was really popular. Yeah. And then they did the Serenity movie. And the only reason Serenity exists is because of the fans. So the whole movie is fan service. Stop looking at the subtitles, guys. I know that's what you're doing. You're looking at the closed captions.
I'm turning mine off.
I turn them off as well, because okay.
Same. It was coming out with all weird stuff, Buffalo Pop and all this kind of... What the hell? What was that? Yeah, so anyway.
Yeah.
So okay. Fan service has existed in a lot of popular shows. And, well, I reckon that that kind of fan service, that can be like, it can be rewarding to the fans because they saw something, they saw it coming, and, well, they didn't see it coming. They like the idea of something, and the show people, they reward the fans by sort of giving them what they want. So that can be good in that way, but it can also be very detrimental because you're leaving your plan for the characters and the stuff you've built up in order to sidetrack in what the audience thinks they want, and you give them something that's, a bit cheap because it doesn't actually fit in to what your thing's about. You sort of derail it a bit in order to please the fans.
Yeah.
And I could also say, and that might be a hot thing, that in the most recent Star Wars trilogy, the last Jedi was a reverse fan service because every single plot thing that happened, because I don't think I can call it a device, every single thing, creative choice that was made in that movie was specifically a flip off to the fans. Like, it was directly said that whatever you think is going to happen, we are going to do exactly the opposite just because. There. So that's a reverse fan service.
Yeah.
I'm not really on Twitter, but a lot of that movie felt like the script was written as like Twitter responses to people.
Exactly.
So weird.
Just as the first movie, which I can't say I liked, but I felt like, okay, it might fit well with whatever is coming next. That one was fan service because they gave the audience, all the nostalgia blast from the past feeling of Star Wars, with the real settings, with a particular plot that was very much in parallel to the original New Hope and so on and so forth. So that would be straight up fan service, and then you have the complete flip of FU fan service.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People are going to be, at least some people are going to be talking about that trilogy for a long time and trying to figure out what the hell happened.
Yeah,
very strange.
I have to watch the last film to see how it ends. Well, yeah, there were some things in that second film that would be intended as some kind of fan service, like the laser sword remark, which was something, but it's more memey kind of fan service. It's stuff that comes from memes, like Juggernaut's line about the bitch thing, rather than the actual work itself. And which was a bit on the nose, really, that memey kind of stuff. You don't really appreciate it because it's not really what the work is about. It's what the impression of the work is about. It would be like it'd be like a story about Dr. Frankenstein calling his monster Frankenstein, or someone saying, "Oh, it's Frankenstein," and Frankenstein coming out and saying, "No, he's my monster. He's actually called Adam." Something. I'm Frankenstein, deliberately playing up to that meme and sort of talking to the audience. And that's a kind of a fan service, but it's irritating because it's not part of the work. It's just there to acknowledge a stupid, joke. And I think that's
It's
lot of...
It's too much meta. Unless it's a comedy, you don't want to be... Like that laser sword thing, I was like, what? That seems such a weird thing for Luke to say.
Yeah.
And I was like, that verbiage or that vocabulary should be among fans. Like a lot of shipping also. It's like great stuff, a great way to talk among fandoms and stuff. But a lot of times I think you have to keep that separated.
The work should be above that kind of stuff. It's quite...
At least a lot of the time it should be, yeah.
Well,
usually even.
Yes.
I need to keep it separated. Listen to that.
So we got that kind of fan service, and we have like the old style, like in the anime where they show their bums and boobs and stuff, which is was popular in the Transformers films. So we've got Megan Fox, I think the actor is. So Michael Bay gives us all that kind of... I can't really make a criticism of that because Pinky TA is deliberately a lot of that.
So you have fan service, a lot of fan service in your...
I do. That was like a deliberate plan. I've mentioned this before. It's not like, I don't say, oh, this is fan service. I say, like every page should have something that rewards the viewer visually, and I try to do that, whether it's like the character showing her bum or like a big splash thing of the mecha or something like that. There should be something to grab the eye, so that's my form of fan service, I suppose. So yeah,
a lot of
that's a good technique.
It's interesting, is not appealing to the hardcores. I'm just kind of realizing that as you guys talked about it, as we talked about it.
Oh, what? Sorry, what was that? Say that again.
A lot of it is not playing to like the hardcore fans of a particular series or franchise or whatever. Mm-hmm. A lot of it is just lowest common denominator, like human. If you have a male audience, it's this. If you have a female audience, it's this. Like you want to see blank. As many people as possible, like that can be fan service. Rewarding long-term viewers can be too. When you're appealing to like the hardcores or to a niche, I guess that can be fan. It's interesting that that's kind of the opposite, but would you call that fan service necessarily?
Yeah, I think it is. Because the term has become broad. Originally it did just mean boobs and bums and stuff, but it's broadened out now. So all that stuff, like I was saying, like with the shipping stuff, I think it all comes under that big umbrella. So yeah, I think you're right there. So yeah, the sneaky little things that, like you put something in from a comic in a movie about a comic in order to reward fans, and that becomes a big thing. Or those long-term rewards. So you've got a long-running series and you play back to those those early episodes, if people remember, by bringing up some specific thing and rewarding the diligent viewers. And those are the kind of stuff that that writers really enjoy putting in, because they know how much people enjoyed the work.
Yeah, probably sometimes. If it's the same writers, probably. A lot of them like it. Some of them probably don't, and it's literally there for fans. Because it'll be often things that are not plot relevant anymore, say in a long-running series. It's like, without fans, we would just put that aside. Like, that element would be forgotten because it's not going to matter anymore in the ongoing story. Hey, referencing a dead character who's not plot relevant. But, like, that can be a really nice treat. I'm glad. I would say I'm usually glad to see that kind of thing.
Yeah, I also like it. One thing that I hate as a reader is when you have characters die and stay dead. They also die in the memory of everyone. It's like they never existed. The biggest perpetrator I can think of this particular thing was actually that pulp fiction series I used to talk about that generations of Greeks grew up with, which was basically, 3 kids that were basically James Bond, but in a Leaper / Sower agent version. They could do, everything, and they were resisting in Athens, and then they went on missions to make Nazis look bad. But the thing is that the main trio of main characters sometimes got other kids that teamed up with them, like 2 or 3 more kids. So you had a team of 5 or 6 kids at any time that were all working together to do the missions. And you knew that if anyone was going to die, it was one of those poor kids that were, the additions to the main core.
Right.
And you had, and some were really really beloved characters, and then they got killed, and you had a heartbreaking issue or 2 of them, being dead and everyone mourning them and everything. And then we forget about them. Nobody mentions them ever again, ever. Like never. They never existed. And I hate that. That is something I hate. I hated that as a kid, remembering things, because I was, when the new kids, for example, that join, get in similar situations, I was thinking to myself and telling the main character, like, you have been through this. Like, don't you remember? Like, doesn't it get you to bell? I'm going to, take precautions this time, you bleeping bleep. And yeah, so I really, as I began writing, I told myself, if I ever have a dead character, which I will never have a dead character
never.
But if that ever should happen, they will be remembered. So yeah,
and come back in memories and dreams and stuff like that.
Yeah, not necessarily. I mean, because that could be fan service, like bringing back the character in the flesh, quote unquote, in a flashback or in a dream sequence, especially if if the audience really likes the particular character, then that can be fan service. But I mean, within the plot, the lack of this character has to have impact if that character was a main character, and the death of that character has to inform the actions and reactions of people that survive the character, and in, like, because that's what happens in real life. We don't forget the people that aren't with us anymore. So yeah.
So the absence creates a hole that needs to be filled. Yeah, that makes sense. Well, like for TV, like long-running series and stuff like that, you often have to have characters that, the actors often can't be in the full series of a show and will have to drop out for various reasons, or over it could be contract disputes, or they're going off to have a baby, or they just going to do movies or something like that, and so you write them out of the script, and so that means the character dies or goes to live in some other far-flung place, and for various reasons, often they will sort of treat that character as if they don't exist anymore, because, especially if it's a contract dispute, then you want to distance yourself from that person because they're not going to be in the show anymore. Or it could be you can't get that person to play the role anymore because they've moved on, so it helps to kill the character off. So it can be very hard in those kind of things to get characters to come back or to keep on referencing them because of external things. But it is fantastic when they do. So the few examples when they continue to do that, it is worth it.
One series that does this very well is Bones. I don't remember the names of the main character, the actors, but Bones is this series. It's basically a whodunit with some.
Bones. Yeah, this isn't the Hugh Laurie thing, is it? This is
No, it's the other one with the lady specialist on remains that don't have skin. Basically, she works at the Smithsonian. It has a team of analysts, and they take the bodies that are mutilated or fleeced from flesh, and they discover they are super forensics.
The ugly guy from Buffy the Vampire Slayer's in it. The Angel.
Yeah, that's the one. So they have one of the longest running characters was a psychologist. His name was Switz, and I really liked the guy because he was the one, because all the others are supposedly hard science scientists, and he's the social scientist. They looked at him more like a quack rather than actually a scientist, but he proves his worth over time, and they create a bond, and they are all very much a team. And at some point, the actor wanted to move on and didn't want to keep playing in this particular series, so they had to actually kill off the character mid-season or at the end of the season. But throughout the other seasons that come, they keep remembering him and his loss. His loss actually changes all of the other characters and the way that they react. And much respect for that. Although the last seasons of Bones leave a lot to be desired, this was done very, very well. Yeah.
Yeah, there's often a reason that something is the last season. Oh, sorry, Tom.
Yeah. No, just to bring it back to the topic of fan service, it is fan service that all of us that like sweets keep getting little bits of sweets here and there. So that is also a compromise, I guess, because he's dead. Sorry about the spoilers, guys, but the series finished a long time ago. Okay, I'm allowed to spoil it.
I was about to give a similar spoiler about Walking Dead, but I'm always hoping that more of my friends will start watching, so I won't spoil.
Okay.
But on that show, just say certain names. You just say the name, and it's very emotional as a viewer. And I watch reactors to that show, and I see that everyone on those reaction videos reacts the same way. You just say certain names, this comes up. And it's very powerful. It sends a shudder through audience members. This is my doorbell. It's very neat that is so, effective. Those characters are so well remembered and well loved.
They do. They
I'm
Won't
sorry.
that make sense?
I said that it always rings a bell because I'm a
they do fan service on that show, don't they? Like I was like the other day, I got curious about that frickin' meme that is always used. That "look at the flowers" meme. You know, they have that from that show. Or is that lady had to kill that little girl or something like this?
Oh, dude, you don't spoil that.
Well, yeah. So this happened very early on in the show. I discovered that
Incredible.
yeah,
Yeah.
this thing happened, and that's like in every single bloody meme, and people relate it all to different things like they do with the memes. And I got curious and thought, where did this come from? So I searched, look at the flowers, just look at the flowers. And it sends me to this this episode title for like, I don't know, something like in series 8 or series 14 or something, however many series is.
I think it was 4. Yeah, I'm rewatching. I
No,
just
no,
watched
no.
it recently.
No, you're wrong. That's when it actually happened, but it directed me to this episode, like in series 10 or something, because the episode's called "Look at the Flowers," so they're
They
referencing.
actually titled an episode that. Yes,
Yeah,
that's right.
so that was a kind of fan service for that, and that confused me because I was thinking, oh, finally I can work out where this came from. So I looked up the episode, "Look at the Flowers," and I read through the damn synopsis and was like searching for everything, like where does the meme apply, and it doesn't, because that episode has nothing to do with that. It's just got that as the title, and I finally
It does
worked
have a
out.
callback in it.
Yeah,
To the relevant character. Yeah. And
yeah.
it's like, "Ugh!" If you saw that original episode, you're like, your throat closes up.
Oh.
So, like, oh my god.
But yeah, so there's an example of the writers doing something very clever there and referencing stuff that's deeper into the show.
Right.
And yeah,
That's neat.
very confusing to people who are looking at memes. Bastards.
Yes. I don't really look at them. So yeah, that's a whole culture that is. I know what they are, but I don't really look at them. And
You
through
blessed
you, all I know
boy.
is they win all the shows.
You blessed heavenly boy. That's you. You're not burned with the evils of memes like the rest of us.
Have you ever, like I just remembered now that I was once told that I did fan service when I really did not intend any kind of fan service at all. And that was back when I was making wool. And if you remember that.
I do.
So the main characters in Wolf are this young biologist woman with pigtails called Zoe, and this doctor that has to just work as a gardener because of a pandemic that makes him be out of a job due to being exposed to the thing, and people are afraid. Anyway, he's this tall ginger guy, and they have some adventures trying to understand, to find a cure for the virus and stuff. So there is this sequence, this nightmare that I have in order to illustrate how Zoe is feeling about certain events that happened in the particular part of the story. And it just so happens that it is a bit surreal, and David is the doctor. He appears with his hands tied with bloody bandages, and he's naked from the waist up. And that is not fan service, guys, I promise. But everyone said, oh, fan service. And it really was not even drawn that way. It was drawn in a very vulnerable and also accusatory manner. It wasn't meant to attract anyone. And that was the one experience of me apparently having done fan service without
And people actually said it, like pointed it
Yeah.
out. I mean, the internet, right? Rule
Hmm.
24 or 34, whichever rule it is.
Yeah, I always forget the number.
Yeah.
But yeah, and he apparently had the fan base that wanted to see him naked that I had no idea about. So,
Or at least his chest.
or at least his chest. So yeah, there's that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty sure it's Rule 34. Oh my goodness
Oh,
me. Maybe we
yeah.
should
So
all
now,
do a page of our comic called Rule 34. Where you
I'm
know,
Someone,
afraid.
if the comics are popular enough, someone will have done it somewhere for us. That's a good need.
yeah, that's the goal. Yeah, that is where the fans go to indulge in their service. I think
In,
that
in, in without moonlight though, when I have people that are naked, nobody told me that it was fan service, and well, it was not intended as fan service, but I sort of expected someone to at least say, "Oh, haba haba" or something like that.
So you can, it can be, yeah, your story can be serious enough, and that comes across
No.
it diffuses that.
But nobody did. Apparently, everyone was paying attention to what was being said, which I take as a compliment.
Very much so. Yeah, that's what I was trying to say. Yeah.
that means you can
Thank you.
sneak in stuff, and people will still take it seriously.
Yes.
So you can have Orestes bursting in on Iris to berate her, and he's still got his shirt off, and he has a very muscular chest, and
He's very like he pumps iron every night.
of course he does. He has a 6-pack, which it's funny if you look at art, and this is just an aside, but if you look at paintings and sculpture and stuff like that, 6-packs are very, very rare in art, and even our famous, the Greek body like a Greek god. Well, the Greek gods rarely had 6-packs, and
Yeah.
like that rarely existed, and it seems to be that's a purely a modern, well, mainly a modern thing where people are able to do that kind of exercise to build up that part of your stomach. Even you look at like pictures of Mr. Universe or Mr. World or whatever from the 1950s, 1960s, and even them, 6-packs are a very rare thing. Even Arnold Schwarzenegger didn't have one. It seems to be
Right.
that's a very purely a modern thing. So yeah, the only reason Orestes would have that is as fan service.
I don't know. Somehow it makes me feel gross just to mentally imagine it.
Of course he has to have one hiding. There was a really there's a fantastic anime called Angel Beats. It's really cool. It's about people dying, a whole bunch of school students sort of dying, as happens, people die, and instead of going to heaven, they get stuck in a school classroom, and they don't know why they're there, and it takes them a while to work out that they're dead. And they go, oh, and then they realize, hang on, we don't actually have to sort of, be at school. We can sort of skive off and do our own things because, we're actually dead and none of this really matters. And anyway, so the whole thing is quite an interesting battle between them and their world. They're trying to not to participate because they're dead, so they know they don't have to. But so you've got all that going on, and one of the characters who's super nerdy. You know how you always have a nerdy character with the glasses and they reflect the light, and he's super nerdy. He rips his shirt off and he has this enormous chest with 6-pack and all this kind of stuff, and all the characters are sort of freaked out because they didn't expect him to have that, and he's sort of been exercising secretly in order to have him have this enormous chest. But so yeah, that just made me think of that. And this character goes against the trope because although he's nerdy and everything, he's a dumbass. He's the stupidest character in the lot, and his His
Oh.
huge chest and body give him no strength or anything like that. He's just all for show. Anyway, sorry for that huge digression. I just had to go through that. Anyway, you should watch Angel Beats. It's very rewarding.
I will. Now I guess I have.
Yeah, yes, just to see that fantastic chest. But yeah, it's a great anime. Yeah, if you like stuff that's sort of about heaven and redemption and stuff like that, it's very rewarding. But not much fan service apart from that. Yeah. So anyway, fan service. Oh, I know. Okay, a great example of a fan servicey thing that ruined a character was Conan the Destroyer. If you've ever seen Conan the Barbarian, it's fantastic, really, really smart film. There's, you've got Arnold Schwarzenegger and all these, actors getting sort of bare-chested and stuff like that. So you've got all that kind of stuff, but it's intelligent in its way because it's very, Nietzschean and it has all that kind of philosophy. You've got James Earl Jones in there as well. So it's a really cool sort of groovy film, fantasy, but intelligent. Probably one of the few intelligent fantasy films that exist. It's more intelligent, say, Harry Potter or Lord of the Rings or whatever. This is one of the early smart fantasy films. And then you have the second Conan film, which was Conan the Destroyer. And that was done by a director who normally did Disney films and stuff like that. And he didn't have an intelligent idea behind the writing of it. He was more sort of going the fan service route. He sort of thought, what can we do that's going to, make, it's going to be really popular with the fans and it's really popular with the audience, going for that baser kind of thing like you were talking about, Baines. So the guy, Fleischer, I think he was the director, I'm not sure. He talked to Arnold Schwarzenegger and said, oh, now for this, you're a big muscly guy. I want you to sort of build up even bigger. And we're going to have your character mostly naked for the whole thing. So instead of wearing trousers and a shirt or whatever, we're just going to have you in a fur loincloth and fur boots for most of the film. And yeah, Schwarzenegger was all behind that because of course he likes to show off his body. But, and he's actually physically bigger in this second film than the first one. But the thing is that it turned the film into a sort of a more cartoony experience, and it's not as good because of that, because it focuses on all that kind of, stuff that's designed to be appealing and, putting in jokes and humor and all that kind of stuff. And it just doesn't work out. It's good as a kid's film, but yeah, it doesn't work like the original did, and, led to sort of the failure of that series. So they didn't do any more Conan films. They did a Red Sonja film that was sort of related to it, but Schwarzenegger didn't even play Conan in that. He played some priest kind of lame character. But yeah, so that's a good example of going for the fan service and ruining a franchise. So it's not always a good idea to do that, to do things that you think will appeal to your fan base, because they don't.
Sometimes the entire thing could be built around fan service. Actually, I'm thinking if you take Game of Thrones, for example, or 300, what have you got as the core? You have people banging on camera or people being in extremely inappropriate for battle thongs and six-packs. So that's fan service. That's fan service. But it is built, the entire thing, the entire work, the movie or the comic or the series is built around that. So the norm is to have a bunch of guys in thongs and six-packs, or the norm is to have people talk politics while they thrust, for example, or have boobs in the background as you are trying to decide when to have a coup or things like that.
Right.
So
As you do, your sex position episode, of course.
yes, of course. But that thing is, I'm going to say that it is legit because you know what it is going to be going in. So because it is so organically built into the work as it is, you go for the fan service knowing that it is going to be there throughout because it is also part of the aesthetic, let's say. So it becomes part of the art. It becomes part of the whole creative vision, so to speak, rather than just fan service inserted randomly, to appease the fans. It's like, here, have all the fan service, and the plot is dressed around it.
Yeah. There were a lot
I just want you to go see this movie. That's all.
Yeah.
There were a lot of films sort of built around that back in the 80s. That was really popular. You had these sex comedies that were styled around that very thing. One of the most, well, one popular one I remember was called Vice Academy. That was it. So it was like obviously a loose parody of Police Academy, but not really. It was sort of just based on the name and piggybacking on that. So you have these very pretty ladies who are the vice cops and disguised as prostitutes, and go out and arrest prostitutes or something like that, or so all based around a very sex comedy idea, and all the sequels are also based around that, and it was very cheaply made, very crappy thing, but that also was part of the appeal of it, that it was cheaply made. So yeah, there were a lot of things sort of have with that kind of fan service at the core. So yeah, that's an interesting kind of way of looking at that. And
even take modern stuff that have been huge hits. 50 Shades of Grey, one of those. What is the main selling point? It's the fan service of of Cinderella and the prince being, down and dirty on each other. That's the thing. Really, that's the entire thing that sells it. What's the other one? I cannot remember the titles very well, but
Twilight.
Twilight. Thank you. Also is the same thing, because you have, people taking off their shirts all the time to transform, or taking off their shirts to show how much of a sparkly monster they are, or taking off their shirts. Generally shirt taking off.
To show that they're big muscly werewolves and stuff.
Yeah, it is built within the approach of the subject matter, let's say. So that would make fan service part of the identity of the creative work.
Like Bottomless Waitress.
Exactly. That is definitely a good example.
So which one are you, Team Jacob or Team Edward? That's the...
Me.
Yeah.
I hate them both.
I hate them both, she said.
What about you, Baines?
I know that Jacob is the vampire. And Edward is the werewolf.
Of course. That's it. So Team Edward all the way.
I am team let Bella die, please. Like she is begging for her death since the first chapter. Like, please let her die.
Well, we would be remiss if we didn't bring up the latest fan service thing, which is The Mandalorian. And
Baby Yoda fan service. Baby Yoda is fan service.
Yoda is. I think it's probably full of fan servicey stuff. I haven't watched it because of the hype and because it's freaking Baby Yoda everywhere, and that image just sickens me because for some reason I might be a mutant, I might have something wrong with my brain, but images of cutesy characters repel me. That's I can't stand frickin' Minions, and I can't stand Baby Yoda. So that's not a selling point for me. But I
will say that Funko Pops make me ill. I don't get it.
Funko Pops. The big heads and yes, big square heads.
The dolls. You do mean these dolls? Yeah. Oh my God! I always get this image of hydrocephaly.
Mutant babies. But
everything is going to die in the
horribly painfully. They've all got migraines. That's why they look like that. But The Mandalorian. So the big fan service that come up now, and this is going to be a spoiler, but whatever. I don't watch it, so. The Asuka character is come in there, so she's from Clone Wars. Asuka. Don't even know how to pronounce her name. So she's got the Ahsoka. Yeah, Ahsoka. She's got the tea towel on her head that's nicely folded to look like tentacles. And you have one of the Mandalorian people, a female body hunter. They're not body hunters, they're bodyguards, bounty hunters, that's it. Bounty, female one of those. She's played by the same woman who does the voice acting from the cartoon, the Clone Wars. So this was fan service, I think.
I didn't know that, but I find that kind of cool. And before you go on, I'll just say from the beginning that I'm not up to date yet on it, but a lot of fan service in that show. Of course, it's the Boba Fett uniform, one of the beloved side characters from the original movies, and he goes to the planet Tatooine.
Oh, cool!
There's Boba Fett sort of iconography, like the carbon freezing thingies and stuff like that, are there. You see Jawas, you encounter Jawas, and so on. Like the sort of environments and some of the aliens and stuff like that. It's very. And this isn't fan service necessarily, but the style is sort of original trilogy, the way it looks.
Oh, the 1970s futurism.
Got a lot of stuff.
Awesome. Okay, so that could be worth watching then. I like it.
You see stormtrooper uniforms, and there's references to, like, the Empire has just fallen. This is maybe a couple of years after Return of the Jedi this takes place. So there's a lot of, like, hey, fans, we don't hate you.
You're selling it. You're selling it a lot harder than that Baby Yoda it has. The Baby Yoda I find is anti-fan service. That's repelling to me. But the way you're selling it's actually making it sound appealing. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
Fan service to me would be if the Baby Yoda swallowed a bunch of explosives and blew up, and then.
Spoilers for episode 9.
Like someone to have the guts to do, to have a Baby Yoda actually not look as cute as, not look necessarily cute to human perception, in the sense that for me, for example, when I see a baby snake, to me it looks cute, but I don't think many people share that opinion. Or a baby turtle or whatever, don't make it like a
human
squishy toy that would go into a baby's crib. Make it as a real youngster, a cub, or whatever you would call it, like offspring of its species, and have the guts to actually not make it uber cute.
Mm.
every baby has the rounded features and stuff. Every baby has a level of cuteness across all species, but not every baby of every species is as cute.
Or it's cute in the same way.
Exactly.
In
Like
their own
make
ways.
it. It's a freaking alien. Make it an alien baby. Make it alien. Like alluring perhaps because it has big eyes or because I don't know something, but otherwise icky. Have the guts to make it a little icky, and
Yeah.
still it can be adorable because it is a baby. But make it icky.
Exactly. Well, thinking of that, this cuteness, they did this in Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, that was the show. They did, so this is a sci-fi Marvel film, in the whole Marvel universe. Guardians of the Galaxy, you've got the Groot.
Baby Groot, is that what you're thinking of?
Exactly. So you have that voiced Groot character, originally voiced by Vin Diesel, which was a bit of fan service there, sneaky fan service, because you didn't have to have a big name actor voice a character who only says one word in many different inflections, but they did. And so they did that, the first film, and then the second film, Groot returns, but Groot had died rather spectacularly in the first film. But there was a little sapling, and the sapling grew, and it became a baby Groot. And of course, with my tastes, I found that quite repelling. Incredibly repellent. In every scene this freaking character was in, being ultra cute, I found it saccharine and yes, very unappealing. But yeah, that was that baby fan service.
Did it help a little bit?
Not at all. It made it worse, if anything.
Made it worse.
I'd rather him being killed. He's wood. Set him on fire, for goodness sake.
Yeah. I think Vin Diesel still did the voice, actually. But
yes, he did.
I haven't seen the second Guardians of the Galaxy, but I have to say, in the end, the credit scene where you have the baby Groot in the pot, I found that funny, not because it was cute, but because it was trolling.
Drax.
Yes, thank you, Drax.
That was funny.
That's the only reason I like baby Groot.
Yeah.
Dancing like this and then going to steal.
Yes. That was funny because it was like a one joke thing, and yeah, it wasn't. They didn't extend that to the entire film with this freaking thing.
No.
Oh god,
It didn't bother me. Like it was at the beginning of Guardians 2, he starts dancing, and you do get this feeling like, oh god, oh no, is that what this is going to be? But it's just a little while at the beginning, to me, in my opinion. Like he didn't bother me.
Yeah,
I'm glad he's growing up though. After that,
more and more, I have this feeling that it's just me. I'm sort of alone in this because it's like every time I see like a cute little dog in a film who does something ultra cute, it's like, oh, fucking kill that thing. Oops, sorry, I shouldn't have said that. But you know what I mean? Like The Mask, or The Mask 2. I think maybe the sequel. They have a little tiny puppy dog that gets the mask and goes crazy and stuff. And I was just thinking, oh my god, no, throw it off a bridge, anything. It's just like terrible. I didn't find that cute at all. I found that, horrible.
I'm pretty sure it's not just you.
Well, yeah, if anything, even if it wasn't, I'd be in the minority still because most people do sort of like that. And I'm not saying that, as some people do, oh, I'm special. It's just me that does this. It's more from a point of view of, oh, I thought more people would be repelled by this. I don't understand.
Right, and then they seem to be super popular instead. Yeah, no, I see your point.
I don't get it. I don't understand. Like I'm just slightly out of touch with reality.
I'm okay with it if there's a little irony to it.
Yeah, me too.
I'm okay with Baby Groot because he's definitely got an edge. He's a murderer.
Yeah, that's right. Another thing I like is that kind of subversion. I remember one of the first webcomics I ever read was a Sluggy Freelance. And it had this very cute bunny in it, Bun. And he was a serial killer. He was the most violent and terrifying thing I had ever seen in any kind of work. Like he could murder someone with an apple, or you know, it was amazing. And I loved the character exactly because he was the cutest thing you had seen in the entire cast. Like super cute bunny. He was named Bun Bun, which is super cute.
Yeah, just designed to be cute. Yeah.
Exactly. And he was like I don't know. Oh my God. What's the name of the guy in Crystal Lake? Come on.
Jason.
Jason.
Yes. Jason has nothing on Bun Bun. Jason would be terrified of. He would run from Bun Bun. That's how terrified it was. And I loved it. I absolutely loved that bunny exactly because he was so cute and so violent.
So cute and so
But that is
evil. Okay.
That's neat.
Yes, subverting character tropes is a very effective way of creating some interest in your work.
Mm-hmm.
But
and it could be fan service as well, by the way.
It can be. It can be. Well, we're going up to the end of our time now, so we should wrap up.
Yes.
All right. Well, let me give a quick shout out. Well, I did I'll just say a couple quick things. I did Oscar shirtless. I was going to say when you were telling your story about Wolf. I do have a page with a shirtless Oscar. He's colored as the Hulk, and nobody was aroused by that, from what I could tell. Poor Oscar. The fan service in the show Futurama is very interesting. And I'm a moron, as anyone can tell. I don't know this like advanced math, advanced chemistry, advanced anything. But the writers on that show mostly were these really highly educated, intelligent people. And they would have visual jokes and sometimes verbal jokes that only like a really high level mathematician or chemist or biologist would understand. And I know about them because they would talk about them in the commentary tracks. And I find that incredible and really cool that they would stick stuff in there that a tiny percentage of watchers would understand. Very cool.
Yeah.
I like obscure references to other movies, which is great. Obvious references annoy me.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that's all I had to say.
Yeah, that's also a great type of fan service. I love that when it happens, and I can understand.
Have either of you guys ever watched Community?
A little bit.
Well, Community is by Dan Harmon, the guy who did Rick and Morty. But anyway, that whole series is like a love letter to fans of all sorts of stuff. It's full of fan references to various things. And because the guy is such a clever writer and, knows about story structure and stuff like that, he also, his own writing, within these stories reference previous episodes and stuff like that. And like, it's like meta fan service of the show itself. So it's enormously clever and funny, except for the last 2 seasons, as happens with long running shows.
It happens, yeah.
Stuff sort of tends
I've heard
to
about that show that they sort of play with the idea of the romantic will they, won't they. They sort of have a little fun, a little meta kind of fun with that concept and other concepts.
Well, they have this one character, Abed, who is meant to be autistic, I think. But he also is basically the mouthpiece for Dan Harmon, I think, in the show. And well, they'll start off an episode or something like that, and then he'll come right out and say, well, what kind of episode do you think this is going to be? I think it's going to be a flashback episode. So I'm going to say something that's going to reference a flashback. So we should have a flashback now. And the other characters are all going, what are you talking about? Shut up, Abbott. You're ruining, everything. And he's saying, but, in this kind of point in the series, this is when we should do this, and it's fascinating the way they do that, and hilarious as well, because that is what they should do, and the character talks about it in a very obvious way, and it's quite funny, and he talks about stuff that's going on between the characters as if they're in a TV show, which they are in a TV show. So, yeah. Oh,
Right. Yeah.
and
like that
speaking of that kind of fan service, the character became obsessed with this show, Cougar Town, in some of the early episodes, and he kept on going, "Oh, Cougar Town is fantastic. It's going to have like 3 kind of movies and like a spin-off series or something like that." He was obsessed with Cougar Town, and the writers of Cougar Town were quite flattered by that, so they actually had the actor who plays Abed in a couple of episodes of Cougar Town.
Wow.
So yeah, that's a kind of a weird fan service across different shows that
That
viewers
is
of
fun
both those shows
stuff,
can.
but
Yeah,
I like that shows do that now. Like it's a meta kind of. If it's done like well and with a little bit of subtlety, then it can be great.
it's fun. Okay, well there we are. I got the extra fan service stuff in.
That's what that was. Exactly.
Yes.
Fan service.
Well, thank you guys for
What would be
listening.
fan service in the world of the QUACKCAST.
Yes,
I think it depends on what genre you're working in. Like, what would our fan service be?
well
why are people
shipping, of
listening?
course. So the Baines Ozone Ocean love thing that.
I've read some of those Flash fictions. They're pretty upsetting.
Upsetting. Very.
I didn't realize how often I repeated myself in like banal points until I read them in the Slash.
Oh,
So yeah,
Oh.
you should definitely read the QUACKCAST fan service and fan fiction the QUACKCAST, please. We'll work on
please
it.
don't. Thank you.
We'll have cameos of the best fan service, fan fiction, and we'll be
Yeah,
taken
don't
over
do that,
by.
please.
Please don't.
We'll have a cute little Baines doll.
Forget I asked anything. Let's just end this.
Baines will
Yes.
be replaced with a cute little Baines version, which I will hate. All right. Thank you very much for listening to episode number 508 of the QUACKCAST.
Thank you, guys.
Bye-bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Bye.